In this video, I will use the Harmour from Dragon Quest Monsters as a Pokémon in Fire Red. The Harmour, or Devil Armor in Japanese, is one of the bosses of the Temptation Gate in Terry's Wonderland and its 3DS remake. Its stats are all over the place, with the standout being defense. For his stats as a Pokémon, I used an average of his original stats and 3DS stats. So, he will have 96 base HP, 117 attack, 169 defense, 63 special attack, 31 special defense, and 45 speed, for a total of 521. However, his defense gets a penalty due to his Perilous Barrier trait in the remake, bringing it down to 113, and the total to 465. Since the DQM games use lookup tables instead of a formula to calculate stat growth, the rate of which can vary greatly at different levels, the conversion won't be exactly faithful. This is one of the rare cases where higher indices point to higher stats. His level-up moves are based on his default Dark Light Slashes skill set in the 3DS remake, plus a few other moves for flavor and coverage. He gets Mysterian Mauler, which does extra damage to the Wonder family, but that can't be copied over to Pokémon, at least not until the move Freeze Dry was added in Gen 6. Instead, seeing as most legendary Pokémon are Psychic type, I gave him Night Slash for stab. Miracle Slash works like Giga Drain and heals the user for half of the damage inflicted. Draining skills have their own resistance in DQM, so I just made it a typeless clone of the Gen 5 Giga Drain. I put it at level 74 as it's going to be very overpowered, and I doubt I'll ever reach that high a level in Fire Red. I will set up a Harmour with perfect IVs and pre-applied EVs. He will have a neutral nature, because I can edit the base stats directly to make adjustments if necessary. He's in the Demon family in the original DQM, and the Material family in the remake, so Dark and Steel types are obvious. He starts with the Perilous Barrier trait, which increases damage taken from physical attacks by 50% in exchange for a 50% chance of blocking them completely, and he also gets the Critical Guard trait via breeding. Critical Guard is just a better version of Battle Armor, as it actually blocks hits that would roll critical, but Perilous Barrier can't be simulated in Pokémon. He uses Double Up in Dragon Quest games, which is a priority skill, so what I did was make a clone of Battle Armor, lower his base defense by 33%, and give +1 priority to his slash skills. Since he won't need speed, I put EVs into his attack and special defense. The latter is dreadful due to his low MP in DQM. He levels up slowly in the original DQM games, so I put him in the 1.25 million experience group. This group requires 25% more EXP than the standard 1 million group at all levels, but it's not as slow as the 1.64 million group in the late game. I fought all the trainers in Viridian Forest, but their bugs give abysmal experience. Thankfully, my steel typing and still great defense meant he couldn't do much damage, and I don't think he has potions anymore in the remakes. If he did, then I might not have had enough PP to take him down, since Pursuit was my only damaging move, and it's now physical with the split patch. The Harmour's Dark Light Slashes set contains Crack, Zap, and Zam-based slashes. Frost Slash does Crack and Ice Breath damage, Hallowed Slash does Zap and Bang damage, and Shade Slash does Zam and Donk damage. Multi-type moves didn't exist until Gen 6, so I just gave them an additional effect of Freeze, Confusion, and Accuracy Drop respectively. Confusion for Hallowed Slash because I wanted to save Paralysis for the Sizz and Breath skills. I was able to go before the rivals Pidgeotto due to priority, but my terrible special defense is going to be a problem in this run, as you can see just how much damage Ember from his Charmander did to me. Misty Starmie is actually quite overpowered for this early in the game, with its 115 speed and 100 special attack, and it knows Water Pulse, which has a 20% chance to confuse. However, the game gives you a Persim Berry for her just before Mount Moon, albeit a bit hidden in an alcove. Her Staryu was an easy one-shot with Hallowed Slash, but I wasn't sure if her Starmie was within one-hit KO range, since it has base 85 in both defenses. I should have just used Hallowed Slash again for the priority, but Stab Pursuit has the same power, and it turned out to be a one-shot anyway. Night Slash will be my only physical stab move until level 66, but since I have great attack, and almost nothing resists Dark in Gen 1, it should effortlessly carry me through the game. The rival battle on the ship is a complete joke. His team is hardly any stronger than the last time, even though all of his Pokémon have evolved once. It's the problem with middle-stage Pokémon until this day, as their stats are closer to their basic forms than their final forms, and Raticate is just awful. I equipped a Cherry Berry for Surge, who got nerfed hard in the remake. They took away Thunderbolt on his Raichu and replaced it with Shockwave. I can understand not giving Watson's Magneton Thunderbolt in Ruby and Sapphire since it's part Steel type, but Raichu? It's just a worse Manectric in every way, Besides, you can catch a level 29 or 31 Dugtrio from the cave nearby in a normal playthrough, and they are not even rare. I gave the Harmour flash cannon just to have one special stab move. I always thought it was a clone of Psychic and had 90 power, but it's only 80. They should either buff its power, or give it 15 PP and a 20% chance to lower special defense like Shadow Ball. Anyway, the rival battle in the tower is always easy, since you'll naturally be overleveled due to the number of unskippable trainers on the way. Interestingly, his Gyarados in the original games had Dragon Rage and Hydro Pump here, and its combined special stat was 100. Enemies also didn't use PP, so it could be a serious threat if you didn't have electric moves. Those were its starting moves in Red and Blue, where it wasn't encounterable in the wild. Speaking of which, many Pokémon in Red and Blue didn't learn any new moves until the high 30s, because you were not supposed to catch them at lower levels, and breeding didn't exist. Erika's gym was easy, as I had Frost Slash to deal with her grass types. She gives the TM for Giga Drain, which was really bad before it got buffed to 75 power and 10 PP in Gen 5. The ROM patch I'm using has updated most moves to their Gen 5 stats, and I made Miracle Slash a clone of the buffed Giga Drain. I probably won't reach high enough a level to learn it though, not without using rare candies. Sacred Slash, Blizzard Slash, and Shadow Slash are tier 2 slashes that do normal attack plus 20% as elemental damage. They are only slightly stronger than tier 1, so I just gave them 70 power like most other slashes in Pokémon. I forewent Shadow Slash because it was redundant when I already had Stab Night Slash. Koga's gym presents a huge level spike, but the bikers on the cycling road and the trainers in his gym have a lot of evolved Pokémon that give great experience. He was basically a free win this time, because most of his Pokémon had no moves that could damage a steel type, which didn't exist in the original Gen 1. The only steel type you can get before the post-game is Magnemite, but you need Surf to reach the power plant, and Surf requires Koga's badge. His Muck became a bit annoying with Acid Armor and Minimize, but it couldn't hit me because its other moves are Sludge and Toxic. I don't know why they didn't give his Wheezing Flamethrower or Thunderbolt though, especially since they took away its explosion in the remakes. The rival battle at the Sylph Company was another free win. His team was at lower levels than Koga's because you can do the Rocket Quest before the gym. I was probably slower than his entire team, except the Execute, but I had priority for slashes. None of Giovanni's Pokémon know Earthquake or any ground moves here, maybe because it's in a building. Then again, you can dig out of this building, so whatever, I'm not going to try to make sense of Pokémon logic. Much like Koga and Steel types, Sabrina's team can't hit Dark types either. The Dark type didn't exist in Gen 1, and you literally can't get any of them before the post-game, not even Umbreon because there's no in-game clock. I purposely picked Flash Cannon as I wanted to see if her Alakazam had Dynamic Punch or Focus Punch, and apparently it didn't. It would definitely have Focus Blast if this was Gen 4 though. Blaine was where everything went pear-shaped, as all of his Pokémon have Fire Blast, and my special defense is dreadful even with maxed out EV. Having 2 Intimidators on his team to cut my attack certainly didn't help. I put Curse at level 58 just to have a boosting move, and its speed penalty doesn't matter when my attacks have priority. I tried to set up against the Rapidash since I was protected from critical hits, but I wasn't protected from ailments and got burned, so that was a loss. In my second attempt, I replaced the black glasses with a Rost Berry for the potential burn, but my attack was still at -1 stage for the Arcanine due to Intimidate, and that wasn't nearly enough to one-shot it. I should have used Curse twice, but that probably wouldn't be enough either. I went out and finished the level so I can set up on his much weaker Growlithe, but I could still only get 2 curses in, since its special attack isn't that bad. Ponyta and Rapidash have low defense, and my attack was still boosted, but the Arcanine brought it back down to normal, and my Night Slash just missed out on a one-shot. Considering that Fire Blast only has a 10% chance to burn, I decided to keep the black glasses on for the slight boost to Night Slash. Although these items only provide a 10% boost in Gen 3, not 20% like in later gens, it should still allow me to one-shot the Arcanine after 2 curses and 2 Intimidates. Or, I could just land a crit. Thankfully, Giovanni's gym was much easier in comparison, despite all of his Pokémon having Earthquake. My defense is still great after the 33% trait penalty, and I can safely set up on his leading Rhyhorn since I don't care about Scary Face, and I can't be critically hit. Giovanni is another gym leader that got nerfed in the remake, as they replaced his Rhydon with a second Rhyhorn for whatever reason. Maybe because the rival also gets a Rhydon in the champion battle, but then they should have given him a Golem instead, since I don't think you ever see one of those in a normal playthrough. Anyway, I got Great Attack and Blizzard Slash to take care of his team. The rival battle before the Pokémon League is no trouble, as long as you can one-shot his leading Pidgeot to prevent its sand attack or feather dance. And since its level was still pretty low, and I don't think it had EVs yet, my Blizzard Slash was able to one-shot it. Sacred Slash might not be enough to one-shot his Charizard, so I set up a curse on it. Maybe his team does have EVs in this battle after all, seeing as its flamethrower did almost 80% to me without its blaze ability active. I was lucky I didn't try to attack first, or it would easily have one-shot me if its HP was under a third. The rest of his team was no threat, even after an Intimidate from his Gyarados. Here are my stats and moves going into the Pokémon League. My attack is amazing, and my HP and defense are also great, but my special defense is my Achilles heel, and that's with 252 EV. Grand Nebula is basically a Shadow Slash that hits all targets, and it does the same Zam and Donk damage. I made it Dark type instead for the stab, and gave it a 30% chance to stun. The rest of my moves should provide decent enough coverage against most opponents in the league. I equipped an Aspear Berry for Lorelei, but that was probably unnecessary because I resist ice, and so her Dugong will only attack me with Surf. Since I didn't have to worry about crits, I could just set up Curse on the Dugong as much as I like, and proceed to sweep her team. Speaking of her Dugong, you could actually soft lock yourself in the original games if you brought a Poison or Fighting type and used the move Rage against it. Due to a programming oversight, the AI will only use Rest as its Psychic type, and Gen 1 Rage auto-attacks for the entire battle without consuming PP. Bruno could have been a roadblock for me due to my double weakness to fighting, if he didn't lead with a useless Onix that's just a setup fodder. I equipped a Citrus Berry for some recovery, and I could easily set up to +6 as the Onix could barely scratch me, but that'd be overkill since +3 was enough to one-shot his entire team. I don't even know why he has 2 Onix when Primeape and Poliwrath exist to fill his fighting type roster. Had he led with anything else, say a Primeape with low kick and overheat, the outcome would have been very different as I wouldn't be able to set up enough. Agatha was a free win, since I'm immune to poison and doubly resist Ghost. This was before Steel lost its resistance to Ghost and Dark. Unlike Phoebe and Ruby and Sapphire, her Ghosts don't have Curse, so the worst that could happen was me missing Grand Nebula and getting confused. Considering that Steel was the only type resistant to Dragon until Gen 6, Lance couldn't do a whole lot either. His biggest problem is his leading Gyarados, which is saddled with a horrendous moveset consisting of Bite, Twister, Dragon Rage, and Hyper Beam, making it little more than a setup fodder. If it had Thunder Wave and Dragon Dance, it would deter setups and become a much bigger threat. I had enough HP to take 6 Dragon Rages after the Citrus Berry heal, but again, there was no point in boosting to +6 when +2 was more than enough. Blizzard Slash only has 70 power, but 2 of his Pokémon haven't fully evolved. His Aerodactyl has poor defense, and his Dragonite has a double weakness. Multiscale isn't a thing in this gen, and it wouldn't have helped anyway as it had no fire moves. I didn't think I would need Miracle Slash to beat the rival. As always, his Pidgeot was the biggest threat with Sand Attack, so I had to get lucky with Confusion, Freeze, or Stun. Or a crit, as I got there. It most likely has Defense EV, so a non-crit wouldn't have one shot. His Rhydon was ironically the safest to set up against, because I don't care about speed drops, and I can't be critically hit. All I had to do was set up enough to ensure a one-shot on his Charizard, which could easily one-shot me with Fire Blast. So, in conclusion, this has mostly been an easy run because Gen 1 Pokémon can't really deal with Steel and Dark types, and it also shows just how overpowered priority attacks can be. My intention was to test if I could clone a real ability and make it work without causing problems or messing up the AI, and it seemed to be possible, since I never took a critical hit. Its other effects like defense penalty and move priority were simply manual changes to base stats and affected moves. This doesn't really open up many new options though, as there's still no way to add effects like Solid Rock and Heatproof in the GUI ROM editor, let alone the more complex ones introduced in the later games. Thanks for watching.